Ladies and gentlemen, it's Popeye from FederalJack.com and Down the Rabbit Hole. Wanted to show you this article really quick from the New York Post. It's from March 25th, so it's about a week old, a little bit over a week old, about a week and a half old. But I thought you all should see this. Rikers guards kept from rescuing a comrade to avoid lawsuits. What? Yes, Rikers prison guards kept from rescuing a comrade who was in distress, being pummeled by about 15 inmates, because his supervisors were afraid that they were going to get sued. What? Yeah, so if you work for the prison industrial complex or you're a jackboot thug, as I've said to you before, your handlers, your masters, the people that pay your checks and tell you what to do, they don't care about you. They do not care about you. This isn't a conspiracy theorist in his mom's basement with a tinfoil hat or whatever other pejorative image you'd like to push out there. This isn't me saying this. This isn't some pejorative label saying it. This isn't some random person saying it. This is this is an article from the New York Post. This did happen, and this has happened in the past and will happen in the future. Okay? Trust me, the system doesn't care about you. I know from my own personal experience. You can ask anybody that's ever been in the system and got screwed over by it, that worked for the system and then got screwed over by it. They can tell you themselves. The system does not care about you. Okay? And it's amazing how fast you become one of the people that they don't care about when you used to be someone that enforced the rules of the system. Anyway, Rikers Island officers were ordered to just stand down and watch as a colleague got savagely beaten by a mob of inmates because corrections supervisors feared getting hit with criminal charges, the Post has learned. About 15 violent inmates pummeled the unidentified victim inside the Anna M. Cross Center, sources said. Other corrections officers immediately responded to the unprovoked attack, but were ordered to not intervene, sources said. Quote, the captains gave the officers a direct order to not use force to break up the assault. Meanwhile, an officer was right in front of them being attacked. Unquote. Quote, that would have been a green light to destroy the inmates, but out of fear of indictment, the captain said, quote, don't use force, you could get indicted. Unquote. The attack lasted about 10 minutes until the inmates lost steam, but they later went wild again and tore down the ceiling in an intake room where they'd been herded, a source said. More than a dozen current and former Rikers Island officers have been busted on assault and other charges in recent years, including ex-assistant chief of security Alicio Perez Jr., who last year resigned days before getting indicted for allegedly ordering the 2012 beating of an inmate. At the time, Corrections Officers Benevolent Association President Norman Seabrook said the guards involved in that case were, quote, merely defending themselves, unquote, and accused authorities of conducting a witch hunt. The Correction Department denied that any guards were held back during Saturday's incident, which erupted around 2:25 p.m. inside a mental observation unit, where two inmates attacked an officer who wouldn't let one of them into a closet that the inmate mistakenly thought held his belongings. Quote, officers were deployed to the unit within minutes to quell the incident and did so without hesitancy, unquote, a spokesperson said. A total of 5 officers wound up hurt, including one who got his nose broken, and 5 inmates identified as, quote, the main perpetrators, were arrested and charged in the attack. Our corrections officers are trained and prepared to deal with any number of unpredictable, at times dangerous events, the spokesperson added. Ugh. Right, so they can't even admit that these guards were held back. Of course, they'll never admit that in public. That's a blatant lie. Who said that? Well, a source inside the prison said that. Now, I wonder, a source inside the prison. Well, it couldn't be an inmate because they have a rough time getting in touch with the press unless, I'm sure some of them have internet access, but they probably wouldn't want to risk getting in trouble. So maybe they can reach out to the press. I'm sure they would probably rather do that through their lawyer because that would be the more intelligent thing to do. But wonder what source where this info could have come from. I wonder if maybe it was a guard or somebody that worked at the hospital that witnessed this guard being allowed to be beaten by these inmates by his fellow guards. meaning they're standing there watching him get his ass handed to him, and did nothing about it for at least a brief period of time because they were afraid of getting sued or getting in trouble or whatnot. Where would the story come from? This isn't the type of thing that one would think the New York Post would run with unless they had some sort of verifiable evidence to the fact that this could have happened. Wonder what the inside source was. Probably somebody that worked there. Doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure this one out. And they've had problems before. Look, the prison industrial complex is a disgusting thing in and of itself. Private slavery. And yes, people need to be punished when they do bad things, but we need to rethink the way we do things. We do things very archaically, and I may add that we have a quarter of the world's prison population here in the United States. Just so people realize, the truth of the matter is that 1 out of every 4 prisoners in the world is incarcerated in the United States of America. We have a larger prison population than China, like per capita. We have a larger prison population than China does. Okay? Very well done. Very well done. We actually are harder on prisoners, and we have a more archaic system than the Chinese do. Yet we bash them all the time as violating people's human rights. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying the Chinese are Rebecca of Sunnybrook Farm by any means. I mean, not the Chinese people, I mean the Chinese government. Whenever I say the Chinese or the this or the that, I'm always referencing the government, not the citizens or the people of the country, because that's just like blaming the citizens of the United States for everything the government does. Although we are to blame somewhat because we allow it to happen. Anyway, I digress. So if you work for the prison industrial complex, if you're a guard, if you're a jackbooted thug cop, a government agent, whatever, and I'm part of this elite group. Rah, they're going to take care of me. They love me. Rah, nothing bad will happen to me. I am awesome because I am part of this group. No, you're not awesome because you're part of the group, okay? You're just part of a gang, and your own gang members won't even look out for you. I mean, the gangbangers, the real gangs, the street gangs, they actually have more respect for one another than these cops and some of these corrections officers. At least they'll try to pull each other out of fire. Even insurgents in a war will try to, go back and get their dead, try to help each other out. These cops, these prison guards, they just stood there. These corrections officers, I should say, they just stood there watching their friend get beat. If you believe what this inside source has to say. Of course, the prison says that it didn't happen, but I'd hate to tell you this, but I don't believe anything that the quote-unquote officials have to say anymore because they constantly get caught lying. These are the same people that'll justify when they shoot an old lady in the face with a .45 and blow her head clean off because she didn't sign her parking ticket or because she told the cop to kiss her ass or something to that effect. So I really don't take what they have to say with much merit. When you can justify executing someone in their own house because they challenge your authority, well then, sorry, what you have to say, anything after that really doesn't have any validity because that statement didn't have any validity. And if you're going to stand by that, well then you just wreck your credibility. So that's the way it is. Anyway, Rikers guards kept from rescuing a comrade to avoid lawsuits. Check it out, New York Post. Posted on March 25th, 2014. I just thought you all might find that interesting. If you work for them, remember, they look at you like you're dogs. My good friend Mark Passio talks about this. I've had him on the broadcast before. We've talked about it many times. The powers that shouldn't be, look at the police and the military like they're dogs. They look at you lower than they look at the regular citizens. They consider the regular citizens the walking dead, but they consider you even lower. They consider you their pets because you are willing to violate your own fellow human beings' rights, and you don't care. You do it for a paycheck. You do it for your own personal security. So they actually have less respect for you than they do for us, the general public. Why do you think when we're in the military they make us wear dog tags? Get it? They really do have symbolism in a lot of things that it's instilled into us in a different light with pride and stuff, but it's really not. To them, they look at it much differently. Wake up. They don't care about you. You want to see events in history, go look up the Night of Long Knives and see what the Nazis did. Okay? There's always purges. Look what they did to the brown shirts after Hitler got into power. And the German army made a deal. The German general said, look, we'll fight for you, but you got to get rid of the brown shirts. We don't trust them. They're unruly. They're unkempt. We don't know them. They're thugs. And Hitler went, you'll fight my wars? No problem. And they rounded them up. They killed half of them. The other ones went to the very same camps that they helped put people in. Whoa, what? What? Yeah. Yeah. Learn history before it repeats itself. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm out of here. Thanks for hanging. Check my radio show out. Check out the website, federaljack.com. Check the radio show out Tuesday through Friday, 10 p.m. to midnight Eastern Standard Time over on Truth Frequency Radio. As I always tell you, the solutions to our problems are an inside job. I love you all. I'm out.